Okay, this is a game between Capablanca and Villegas, played in Buenos Aires, 1914. It's a Slav defense, ECU code D11. Start off by D4, D5, and then knight F3. Normally in the Slav you would see C4 followed by C6, but here we just reach Slav defense by transposition. Also, White could probably continue with like a Colley type system or a London system or something like that, but the Black continued knight F6, E3 to support the center. So White's blocking in one bishop and freeing the bishop here on F1. Then Black plays C6 to support the center. Doesn't want to play E6 to where it would trap in the bishop here on C8. Just a strategy by both sides. White plays bishop to D3. So still sort of somewhat flexible. I would actually be saying this looks very much like a Colley system. And then Black plays bishop to G4, pinning the knight. And now White plays C4, counterattacking in the center. Now that this bishop has left the queen's side, White can always think about moves like queen to B3, where would it sort of hit both of these two squares, since White would then have influence with the queen along these two general directions. Black plays E6, supporting the center, but probably more importantly it's freeing the bishop here on F8. White plays knight on B to D2 to give protection to the knight here on F3. Obviously now the queen is going to come to one of these squares over here, most likely C2. Knight on B to D7. As I've said in previous games, this develops the knight and also prepares the eventual support of C5 or E5 by Black. White castles. And now Black plays bishop to E7. Probably also Black could play the bishop to here, where it looks along this diagonal, and helps to control the critical square of E5. But Black plays it to E7, considered more of a defensive position. The queen comes to C2. Obviously lining up here on E4. We can see that White definitely plans to play this move here. And now Black plays bishop to H5 with the idea of retreating it back to G6 and exchanging it off with the bishop here on D3. If you think about it, it's sort of a long way. It's, moved once, 2, 3, 4 times. And if it does that, and White's bishop here on D3 only moved once, Queen has to recapture twice. So actually White would be up 2 moves, so maybe not the best plan if you're thinking about such maneuvers. White plays B3 with the idea of bringing the bishop here to D2. And also the bishop will then look along this diagonal here, with special attention to the square E5. Bishop to G6, continuing its plan. White continues its plan with bishop to B2. Black takes the bishop. Queen retakes the bishop. And now, as we can see, Black didn't really gain anything by all that. It's White who still has a pretty good position. Black looks like it traded off one of its best pieces and didn't really get anything in return, except for, as I said before, it's now 2 moves behind. Black castles, and then White plays rook on a to e1. I thought originally when I looked at this that the rook on f to e1 looked better, but I wasn't too sure. Maybe white was planning on opening up the f file, but it turns out to everything works out in white's favor. Not going to second guess Capablanca. Black plays queen to c7 with the idea of pushing the pawn here to c5, or helping support the pawn push. And now white does play, well, maybe I should say I want to go over one variation for white, is to say very tempting here to, looks like white could strangle potentially black with c5, but white should sort of refrain from doing these type of moves, because it should try to keep the tension in the center. Because if white plays c5, then black will just play a move like b6, and then white will be a force exchange this pawn, and then it doesn't look like, as you see, that white actually gained anything from the push of c5. So instead, white goes with e4. All the pieces are going to jump in the action, and we're going to get some more open lines. And when you open lines, the person that benefits is the person that's more developed or can control those lines. So we'll see with e4, black basically now has to recapture, because it can't let, if white is allowed to play this move or even this move, well, if it pushes e5, this knight's going to have to move, and this is the main defender to the king position. So taking away a defender, and e takes d5 is just opening up more lines. So black is practically forced to take the pawn, and now the knight retakes, and then black's going to try to exchange a piece to free its position. Rook retakes, and probably a natural looking move on for black's 15th move would be knight to f6, attacking. Looks like, oh, I'm getting rid of this piece, it's coming over to defend the king side, it's attacking the rook, it all looks great. But then the problem with this move is that white will play rook to h4. Now white is threatening mate here on h7, and all that it has to do is get rid of this knight. And to get rid of that knight, maybe white would attempt to play something like this move, where the bishop can come and take the knight, or maybe some maneuver like this, where it can then take the knight. As you can see, there's different options, so that move is not a good move for black. Instead, black plays bishop to f6, where now the rook still can't come to h4, and it's attacking this pawn here on d4. Okay, so now white plays queen to e3, because previously black was threatening to bring the knight to here, where it forks these two pieces, and if white captures, and the bishop just comes over here and captures. So the queen sidesteps the attack. Now if the knight just comes to c5, the rook can just move over to probably g4 or f4. So now black plays c5, hitting this pawn here again. Looks like the one weakness in white's position is this unprotected bishop here on b2, and black's trying to make use of that. But now white just plays knight to h5. I mean e5, I'm sorry. And now black plays c takes d4, hitting the queen, and black was anticipating this move order, which would have favored black. Black was probably calculating that the bishop's going to take, and then bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, bishop on f to d8, and it looks like black's going to control, the pieces have been exchanged, and black's going to end up probably controlling the d file, and things have turned around for black. Well, that isn't what happens. It's that after c takes d4, white plays knight takes d7. Wow, this looks very strange. And I'm going to have to continue this on the next video.